So you actually were at the Houston, Illinois game, and Houston's looked very dominant so far. I was wrong on them. I thought they would have a little bit of a letdown after last year, but they've looked really dominant, and I personally think they're going to beat Arizona. So what did you see from this Houston team in particular, even losing Quentin Grimes from last year, that could force you to maybe have them win that region? Could they beat Arizona and maybe even Villanova if it gets to that point?
Yeah, they were pretty much left for dead as soon as Marcus Sasser and Traymar Mark went out for the season. That was 30 points of production that was gone with them. But Kyler Edwards, a transfer from Texas Tech, has proved that he can be a lead guy. He was absolutely fantastic against UAB in the round of 64. Tajay Moore came into the season as the fifth guard on the offense, and he was great in the game. He's extremely athletic. He can score with these. Really good player. And Jamal Shedd, the point guard, really gets no attention at all, but he's a consistent 5 or 6 assists per game guy. But the front court has really flown under the radar. They haven't had a front court the past couple of years. It's sort of been makeshift, just throw pieces together. But this year, UConn transfer Josh Carlton's one of the best defenders in the country. He did an excellent job on Kofi Coburn, made him really work for his 17 and 12 numbers. And then Fabian White, the fifth-year senior, is a solid defender in the front court as well. Houston, even with the injuries, is probably the most balanced team left in the field. They're outstanding on the rebound, on the offensive boards, great defensive team. And if they can continue to shoot as well as they have, they absolutely can beat Arizona, and they would have the ability to beat Villanova too. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a Final Four team at all.
Well, I got a trivia question here for you. We're gonna throw something out at you. Going back to 1985 when seeding began, okay, 32 of the 36 teams to win the national championship have either been a 1 or 2 or a 3 seed. Can you name the 4 teams that were not to win the championship?
I could not name.
That's a toughie. I mean, but that just shows you how much seeding plays into it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you assume all the winners are one of those top seeds, and that the ones who aren't were either severely underseeded, so you project them as a high seed or whatever. But I can't even name one.
So while underdogs are great, it's a great story. Most of them don't wind up winning. Most of them don't really even wind up getting to the Final Four. I remember Bo Kimball when Hank Gathers died and Loyola Marymount. They were a great story. And in 1990, them getting blown out by UNLV in the Elite Eight, they were a team that everyone thought were the feel-good pick to make the Final Four. And if they can't win, and they had, Bo Kimball was one of the best players, one of the best scorers in college basketball history. So generally, the lower seeds don't win, even though it makes a great NCAA tournament and it's great memories and great moments. Usually, the top seeds win. And do you see any of those teams that are not seeded 1, 2, 3? Which one do you think could possibly win the championship that aren't a 1, 2, or a 3 seed?
So UCLA is a 4 seed, but I think because of their preseason ranking of being a top 5 to 10 team, I sort of will put them amongst the favorites. But I think Providence has the best chance because their path to a title game is, I wouldn't say completely easy, but it's doable. If they can get past Kansas, get past Miami or Iowa State, to get to the Final Four, they have the pieces, and they're one of the oldest teams in the country. Nate Watson is in a season filled with a ton of All-American caliber centers. Nate Watson sort of in that second tier, doesn't get a lot of attention, but he's great. And he gets doubled a lot, so his stats aren't always there, but he's a good two-way big. Jared Bynum's a quality point guard. Justin Minaya is one of the biggest impact transfers this season, if nothing else, because defensively he's raised this team up. So I would not be surprised if Providence makes it all the way there. I think because of how they've won their games with a little bit of luck, there's people who won't fully trust them. But I would take lucky winning versus being out. I'll take luck any day as long as you get on the right side of it.
And by the way, the answer to that question, the 4 teams, you had 85 Villanova was an 8 seed, obviously beating Georgetown, one of the great games ever. You had 88 Danning Manning and the Kansas Jayhawks. They were a 6 seed. They beat a very good Oklahoma team in the national championship. Then you had the 90. When you mentioned a team like Providence being a 4 seed, the best 4 seed ever won the national championship, which was in 1997 Arizona with Miles Simon, and those guys.
Won
and
a
then,
lot of money on that, by the way.
And then the last,
the
last seed that wasn't a 1, 2, or 3 was when a 7 and 8 played a national championship game, and UConn won in 2014. So those are the four answers.
Didn't Arizona beat Kentucky in
Yep,
the championship?
they did. Kentucky, which won the year before.
I know.
In Tubby Smith's first year.
My bracket was dead on, and I was a kid, man. I won like $3,000 from high school, man.
Well, that was Patino's last year. My bad. That was Patino's last year.
That was me in 2010. I nailed that was the Kyrie Irving Duke team. I nailed that, and I had West Virginia in the Final Four, and Duke beat West Virginia in the
Kyrie
round.
Irving Duke team.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, played one game because of his broken damn foot. And please give me a break.
Well, people thought I was crazy picking them over the Kentucky team, the John Wall, the Marcus Cousins, all that team.
Give me a break. Last question for me, man. And I've been watching this bracket, and it's Michigan. A lot of people, as what they did last year, going all the way to the Final Four, and everybody thought, this year they were going to be practically all their players coming back. Obviously, Juwan Howard was like one game away from winning a national championship, and everybody was like, this is the team. This is the team that's, this year is going to go all the way and show everybody why they're so great. And this year, they've just been a complete, utter disappointment all season long. In the first half, the second half, really last 3 games, they played better. They sneaked into the tournament. They surprised everybody beating Tennessee, where a lot of people thought Tennessee could have been the favorites of winning the whole national championship. Matter of fact, it's killed like 6 or 7 of my friends' Final Four bracket, which they tell me they want to jump off a damn ledge. Okay? So what are your thoughts to Michigan? Obviously, they're going into a hard game against Villanova. I think a lot of people, including yours truly, picks Villanova to win the whole thing this year. What are their chances of beating Villanova, and what is their chances of moving on to the Elite Eight or maybe even the Final Four?
So I actually, in this bracket, I picked Michigan to go to the Elite Eight. I have them beating Villanova. And part of the reason is my concern with Villanova is after losing Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, is Eric Dixon going to be the guy at the 5 spot that can take on quality big men? For the most part, outside of Nate Watson, the Big East doesn't have a lot of star bigs. And in the non-conference, they struggled against guys like Zach Edey and others. So going up against Hunter Dickinson, who has been fantastic so far in his first 2 games and, was the reason why they beat Colorado State and Tennessee, I do wonder if Villanova has an answer for him. They play great pressure defense that will, prevent entry passes. But I think Eli Brooks in particular, who's had an up and down year, is capable of getting 15 to 20 points. And if they can get anything from Moussa Diabate and Caleb Houston, their 5-star freshmen, I would not be surprised at all if Michigan can do it. And I've been staying on them all season, even though they've been very disappointing, because I had them as preseason number 3 team in the country behind Kansas and Gonzaga. Their resume has not been good, but when they're on, they're one of the best teams in the country. When they're off, they're not. And I think in the tournament, now that they're completely focused, they should be able to put up a spirited fight against Villanova. And I am interested to see what they'll do against a true center, because E.J. Liddell is more of a 4, and they was able to hold him in check. But what are they going to do against a true center like Dickinson? That'll be interesting to watch.
So last question for me. Of the 4 low seeds, you mentioned Michigan, you like winning over Villanova, but Miami, Iowa State, and North Carolina, the 4 low seeds left, which has the best chance at the Final Four and why?
I'll say North Carolina, because I think they flipped the gear. I think the biggest issue with them is that they sort of pick and choose when they want to play hard. You saw them against Coach K's final home game when they really was motivated to score. You saw it against number 1 seed Baylor for the most part until Brady Manick got ejected, that they're one of the best scoring teams in the country. If they can play enough defense, that'll be the question. But in their region, UCLA and Purdue's, weak defensive team, they're not going to stop North Carolina from scoring. So the question is going to be, can the Tar Heels do enough defensively to win the games? And I think they can. They only play 6 guys at the most, but Armando Bacot's going to have his, Caleb Love's going to do his, and if Brady Manick continues to score 25 a game, they can beat just about anybody in the country.
Now, when we talk about trios left that usually can lead their teams to championship, the only time Michigan won a national championship in the last 30 years is when they had Glenn Rice, Terry Mills, and Loy Vaught in 1989. Is there a better trio right now than Travion Williams, Zach Edey, and Jaden Ivey for Purdue?
I don't think so. I think if you wanted to make a case for Nembhard, Timmy, and Holmgren, they may have a little bit of a higher ceiling, especially when Holmgren can hit shots. But it's hard because the 40 minutes of hell you get at the center position for Purdue, that's difficult for most big men to deal with. Mm-hmm. And Jaden Ivey, there's still questions about him. Is he playing the wrong position? Is he really a shooting guard that gets the ball too much? But Ivey can give you 25 at any night. I think the question with Purdue isn't those three. It's what the support and cast can do. Can those guys hit enough shots to keep them scoring in 70-80 range? Because when they do that, they can win it all. But if they're missing threes and relying on Ivey to do everything, that could cause them trouble.
But also they got to the line 46 times on Sunday, which is amazing for an NCAA tournament. So their ability to get the other team in foul trouble is also a thing that maybe normally isn't in play in some of these games.
Yeah, it also helps that Texas is one of the more foul-prone teams in the country because they're very physical.
46 free throws. It's amazing. It's
definitely going to be matchup-based. St. Peter's is probably going to foul a ton. North Carolina or UCLA aren't huge foulers. So I think assuming Purdue gets past St. Peter's, that Elite Eight matchup against either of those teams will turn into a jump shot contest.
Carl's trying to give me PTSD in the comment section of 2019 Purdue that decided to blow it against Virginia.
As everybody knows, we were talking to fan-sided busting brackets site expert Tristan Freeman. Tristan, tell the fans how they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at hoopsnut351, and you can also check out the website Bustin' Brackets, that and the handle at Bustin' Brackets for commentary and articles. We have a ton of work coming out in the next couple of days, previewing all Sweet 16 matchups and eventually the Elite Eight and Final Four as well.
Well, we're looking forward to getting you back on as we move forward in the show. You're obviously very knowledgeable of what you're talking about. I hope everybody was listening to that, but I'm sure everybody's bracket is just busted. And like I said, it's pewy. But hopefully my Duke Blue Devils win the whole thing. I don't count on it. But maybe Villanova. I picked Villanova from the beginning to win the whole thing last year, losing against Baylor. I hope they win this year against whoever it is. I guess whoever. Anyways, thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to getting you on again, my friends.
And enjoy covering those games, too, as well. You're going to get to this weekend.
Great job, Tristan. You're great having you on.
Thank you. I'm glad to come on anytime.